It is Thursday, and it has been a while, but as always, there's so much I should be thankful for, could be thankful for, am thankful for. So much I could have come on here every day and mentioned. And the God I serve is worthy of daily gratitude, whether I record a video or not. But all the Thursdays in between this one and my last video, which was actually on a Thursday, which was probably over a month ago, my goodness. I just want to come on and say I am thankful. Today, I'm thankful for reminders that can come through conversations with people. I've said that, but it's just so true. And today I was reminded of that you can talk to a person and in that conversation be reminded of who God is, what he's done for you. You could talk about God's goodness. Maybe that's the one I'll land on specifically. Thankful for opportunities to talk about the goodness of God, which really are all around me all the time. And I thank God for his grace because sometimes I don't see the opportunity. But I'm trusting that he'll build me up and continue to show me more and more that there's just so many doors to walk into when it comes to talking about the goodness of God. So I'm glad to have that opportunity, even with some coworkers, just to talk about the fact that despite everything life has thrown at me, God has been my safe place. And faith in him through Jesus has been proven in my life to be like the source of my well-being and open doors and miracles and things that only he could have did. Like thinking back on how he opened certain financial doors and connections and worked out certain arrangements, like how I worked for the airline. I worked at the airline for 6 months, but I ended up with like 3.5 years of flight benefits. That God worked that out. He did that. So the conversations can really, more conversations, well, everything points to the goodness of God, but I'm thankful that in every conversation I can talk about the goodness of God and it'll be an appropriate thing to bring up. And that is really a lie that the enemy and society and the world and our own fears tries to shape that it's not always appropriate to talk about God and what he's done, but really it's always appropriate. We all gonna die one day and leave this planet. We don't owe anybody the comfort of not bringing up the most important thing to us. I know that it just won't always come up, but we shouldn't shrink back from it. I shouldn't shrink back from it just because it don't seem appropriate in a moment, you know? Sometimes that's actually when it's the most appropriate. So grateful for conversations where I get to, just talk about the goodness of God and things he's done for me and how he's worked things out for me. And it reminds me of his goodness. It stirs me up and inspires me. And lately I felt more inspired than I felt in a long time. So definitely thankful for that as well. Inspiration. Especially when it comes to my job, because I just could not see the value in showing up at that job, besides that it seemed like God was telling me to keep this job and stay and keep going there. And I could see him working on things in me. And so I know that intrinsically that is the most value that can be had, is to be in the will of God. But I couldn't see the moment by moment benefit of it in terms of the peace of struggling to have peace there, struggling to have joy. And so it felt like, I was doing God's will at the expense of his promises, which is never true. Even when you suffer persecution and you go through hard seasons, his promises are true. His peace is always, every moment thing. That's what he said in his word. The peace he gives us, the world can't take it away. It's a peace that passes understanding, to be of good cheer even when we enter into the challenges and the troubles of life. Just to rejoice always, right? So that's his promise. That's his mandate. That's his calling, to not worry about nothing. So how am I doing his will? And it seems like the worry, the pain, and all that is a result of it. It's a deception. And I was struggling for months to just contending with this idea that I hate this job. I hate going here. I just feel like I feel rotten at this job. I don't like working with most of these people. I don't share in the... It's complex, not going to get into it. But that was hard to see, like, okay, God, why would you have me be somewhere and I hate it and I'm miserable? So recently, I know God has been breaking down why that is by challenging me. Like, do you really think that because that something I'm asking you to do is what's causing you to feel miserable? And so in challenging that notion, I'm realizing God is showing me how the deceptions are set up and how I've been looking at things through these skewed, distorted lenses. So, but even in realizing that, it didn't take away the misery and the stress. I'm like, okay, God, but I'm still stressed. So how do I stop? How do I stop being stressed? How do I stop feeling miserable? How do I take a hold of the peace? How do I walk in the joy? And some of it has just been deciding that I'm not, some of it has been making up my mind that I'm not going to let this job dictate my inner being. And also drawing from the Psalms, commanding my soul to rejoice. Not just like, Rachel, get happy, and forcing myself to feel away and saying, feel good or have joy, have joy. No. Reminding my inner self to align with the values and the resources it has in God. Instead of with the circumstances and with the troubles of life and troubles of this world. So it's like a realignment. So God has been with me practicing that, and that's what I'm thankful for too. And so there's been some inspiration lately, just from different things where he's showing me that his word is true and I can trust that. Take my expectations out of how pervasive the harm and the troubles are and put my expectations in the inevitability of his goodness by faith. And being reminded how good and faithful he is when I reflect on all the things he's done for me. And sometimes in the moment, I can't even list all the things he's done for me. Sometimes I don't remember until I have conversations like I had today and certain details come up. And I'm like, wait a minute, let me tell you how God took care of me. This is why I'm not going to worry about this stuff at work. And this is why I'm encouraging this person. You can't worry about that stuff because the goodness of God is bigger than evil. Good is bigger than evil. And it's not our own. There's intrinsic good that in principle is better than evil. But the bigger thing is, even our own self-righteousness is that's filthy rags. But for me, it has been that God has taken care of me and has reminded me that he is what's good in all of life. And he has shown himself to be that in my life. And I have that same confidence in him, even at this job. So I am inspired. So I thank God for those conversations and the reflections on his goodness and the things he's done and the inspiration to hold fast to his faithfulness and allow the Holy Spirit to walk me through coming up out of the distortions or the ideas or the notions that doing God's will is what causes harm or misery and things like, because it's just not true. And that I could be of good cheer And that I can rejoice always, and I can cast my cares on him, and I can make my request known to him and reject anxiety. And I'm thankful that there's even been moments, again, at work, where work related, where I had to pray about a very specific thing and trust God and go to sleep. Because it was beyond my control anyway, and that's really where anxiety gets you, when the stuff you can't do nothing about. I had to trust God about it, and the next day, it worked out, and it was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. But then he reminded me that either way, I still had to stay in peace, because this thing was really just out of my control. But it was also a reminder that he hears my prayers, and the things that matter to me matter to him. The way I think things should work ain't always how they go. But I can cast my cares upon him because he cares for me. And I'm learning to account for the cares I have that align with him anyway. So I could pray about this because this is something that's important to you, God. And I know that this is how you will want this handled. But I know I still have to trust that you're beyond even my, how I would handle it or what I'm seeing. You know what I don't know. But I could pray. And this is like praying for people. Like, this was something I was concerned about a particular person. So it wasn't about like a circumstance that was just bothering me. It was actually about a person's well-being. So, and he worked it out. So I'm reminded that prayer is powerful. Keep praying for people. Trust in God. Don't worry about nothing. Be of good cheer. Rejoice. Reflect on his goodness. Share his goodness with others. And that inspiration he offers is always there. And we do have to cast down the vain imaginations and the temptation to really be afraid or to be in misery or to believe the lies that the enemy will try to string together that suggest that, there is no joy for you, or that the promises of God are somehow untrue or unreliable. So I am very thankful if you watch this whole thing. Hope you're encouraged. Stay blessed. If you know the Lord, be encouraged in him, the true him, the real him. Put in the effort to trace him in your life, to meditate on him, his goodness, to really let his word transform you inwardly. Think about it. Chew on his word. Find sustenance in his word and grow in his goodness. And if you don't know him, I pray that you will discover, receive, experience his love, his power, that you will understand your state as a human being who is fallen from the height of who we could be because of sin. We're born of God, but we're only reconciled to him through him. The reconciliation through him is through Christ. To be reunified with him here in your human form and in all eternity. The love, the righteousness, the peace. When I say righteousness, I mean the very values and moral standing that you desire, even the aspects that seem hard to grasp sometimes. All of that is in him. The validation, the approval, the purpose is all in him. Receive him, experience him, know him. All right? Stay encouraged.